Hey, what's going on guys? RVZ Stealth here, and in today's video, I have my opinion on the best junglers for Season 4, patch 4.13. First up, I have Jarvan. Pros to Jarvan are he has a great ultimate. If you can use your ultimate to lock down multiple opponents in a team fight, then this will allow for your AD carry to deal loads of damage to those enemies in his ultimate. Or if you can get your ultimate off on a high priority target on the enemy team, then it makes it really easy for your ranged damage dealers to burst them down really quickly. He has good ganks because of his EQ knockup combo. He's got good mobility because of that as well. And he is a very strong duelist and has a good level 2 because of his passive and his EQ knockup combo. Cons to Jarvan are he's weak against mobility. For example, Ezreal and Nidalee counter his ultimate pretty hard because they can just use their gap closers to get out of his ultimate. Also, his knockup is very key to having successful ganks, so if you can't land your EQ knockup combo, then his ganks aren't reaching their full potential. Next up, I have Rengar. Pros to Rengar are he has very strong ganks once he gets his full stacks on his E, or once he gets his full stacks, then his E becomes a 1.75 second stun, which is really good, or snare, sorry. He has an insane level 6 with his ultimate, and his ultimate can be used late game to catch enemy squishies out, or just to engage and burst down an enemy squishy. He can pretty much 100 to 0 an enemy squishy late game because he does so much damage with his empowered stacks. He has great burst and DPS, and he's a strong invader because of his passive, so he can just catch up to opponents for a very long time. Cons to Rengar are he needs stacks for gank, so I wouldn't recommend ganking with Rengar unless you have your 5 stacks, because you want your snare on your E when you're ganking. He's countered by pink wards, so when I use my ultimate with Rengar, when I'm playing him jungle, I like to try to gank from the lane, because what a smart enemy will do is they'll plant a pink ward in the river or in the bush, and they'll see you coming. So I either like to sneak up behind them when my team is pushed, or I like to just lane gank with his ultimate. And he has a pretty weak clear speed early game, so buying Madrid's Razors helps with that clear speed, which is what I like to do on Rengar. Next up, I have Evelynn. Pros to Evelynn is her passive is pretty OP because she can not be seen, obviously, and it makes her ganks insanely strong. So when there's an Evelynn on the enemy team, you have to always be aware of that, and you have to make sure that you are playing safer at all times in the game, because you never know where an Evelynn's going to be unless you buy pink wards or get deep wards in their jungle. She has great initiation late game with her ultimate. If she can flank from behind and get her ultimate on like their whole team, it'll give her a massive shield, and she'll be really tanky for the fight. And she's really easy to gank with. She's probably one of the easiest junglers on my list, so if you're looking for an easy jungler to play that is good at the moment, I'd recommend Evelynn. Cons to her are she is squishy early game, so champions like Lee Sin and Elise and Rengar, as well as Jarvan, can 1v1 her really easily. She's weak at dueling, and pink wards counter her. So what I like to do with Evelynn is also I like to try to lane gank, because there might be pink wards in the bushes, so lane ganking with Evelynn is always good, unless, of course, you're getting like your second buff, then you don't really need to worry about lane ganking. You can just go from behind because the enemy team probably hasn't bought any pink wards yet. Next up, I have Elise. Pros to Elise are she's an insane duelist because she has so many skills early game, which means she's got a lot of damage. She has very strong ganks because of her cocoon and her repel. She can tower dive early really well because of her repel. And she has this 2-second stun when maxed, which is really strong in late game team fights. Cons to Elise are she's pretty hard to play. She takes a while to get used to because her kit is so unique. And she has little mobility. Her repel, I don't really count that as mobility because you need to be by minions or champions for it to work. So if you're trying to run away like in lane, then you're probably not going to escape. And last but not least, I have Lee Sin. Pros to Lee Sin are he is a very strong duelist because he has an attacks. Actually, he no longer has an attack speed slow, but he has a slow, just a normal slow, and he also has an execute on his Q. He has insane CC with his E and his ultimate. He can make really flashy plays where he like Qs in, war jumps behind the enemy and kicks them back into the team, or just flashes behind an enemy and he kicks their high priority damage dealer into your team. He's got great ganks because he has an insane gap closer on his Q. He has great mobility with his Q and his W. And his ultimate is really strong. Like I said, you can just get behind an enemy, squishy, and kick them into your team. And he counters stealth champions because of his E and his Q reveals stealth. So he especially counters Akali really hard because if Akali puts her shroud down, he can just use his E and it will reveal her. Cons to Lee Sin are he falls off late game, and he's pretty skill shot reliant. If you can't land skill shots, then Lee Sin's probably not the best pick because that's what his ganks rely on. Honorable mentions for this patch include Maokai, Vi, and Amumu. With the recent changes to the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, Maokai and Amumu are a lot stronger because they become insane tanks late game, and as long as they can survive the early game, as long as they don't get invaded by the stronger junglers on this list, then they have a big impact in the game, especially Amumu because of that insane ultimate. And also with Maokai's changes to his ultimate, it makes him a lot stronger, as well as the slow on his E makes him a lot stronger as well. Vi is always going to be a strong pick because of her Q and her ultimate. She has really good ganks, and she definitely deserves an honorable mention. However, I just don't think she matches up with Elise, Lee Sin, and Jarvan, as well as Rengar, so that's why I do not have her on the list. And Evelynn, she doesn't match up to her because Evelynn just has insane pressure on the map, and she's always going to be a strong pick because of her passive. So those are my honorable mentions for this patch. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more League of Legends content, and I will see you in my next video.